Okay, it is good morning. It is 9:30 a.m. On Thursday, January the 7th. We welcome all to the Richmond Regional Transportation Planning Organization Policy Board meeting, and I will now call this meeting to order. At this time, before we have our pledge of allegiance to the flag, I have to tell you that my heart is so heavy this morning in view of all the recent activities and even the things that we went through last year. So I would request that as we start off our new year, that we could just take a few minutes of silence before we start our pledge of allegiance. So if you would, please, ma'am, please, sir, if we just take a few minutes to reflect back on and to pray for this great nation that we live in, I would appreciate it. Thank you. Amen. So this time we will have our pledge of allegiance to the flag. And I will start it off if I get my flag to show. Okay, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United
States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so very much. So welcome to our first meeting of our exciting year of 2021 here at the Transportation Planning Organization. For those that you don't know me, I am had the honor of being your chair this year. I am Patricia Page out of New Kent County. I'm board of supervisor there. And we have received our statement regarding virtual meetings in our packet. So there's no need for Mr. Parsons to read that. However, we will have our roll call and certification of a quorum at this time.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning. It's great to see everyone in 2021. I'll start with Town of Ashland. Mr. Hodges.
Here.
Ms. Barnhart. Charles City County, Mr. Coda. Chesterfield County, Mr. Carroll.
I'm here.
Mr. Holland.
Good morning.
Good morning. Mr. Winslow.
Good morning.
Miss Haley. Goochland County, Mr. Lumpkins.
Here.
Mr. Spoonhauer. Miss Lascolette. Mr. Kilduff. Hanover County, Mr. Davis. Mr. Peterson.
Here.
Miss Pritchard. Mr. Flagg. Henrico County, Miss O'Ban. Mr. Thornton.
Here.
Mr. Brannon. New Kent County, Miss Page.
Here, and can you please all mute? Thank you.
We as the consumer or the member of Downey, we aren't asking a lot of questions as to who is given.
Mr. Tiller.
Here.
Writing down
Mr. Evelyn.
who gave the presentation.
Powhatan County, Mr. Nordvik. Mr. Williams. Mr. Shardine. City of Richmond, Mr. Addison.
Here.
Miss Gray.
Insurance is usually at the end of a
Miss Lynch.
Am I right? Right. But
Miss-
when
Miss Newbill.
that is
Here.
usually different persons.
If you don't mind, I'm just going to take a moment and take a look
Who is
at the
given
participants list and see if I can help us out here.
who are closing you out.
Nicole, it may make sense to ask the folks that are joining us by phone to please notify us who is attending.
Okay, it seems we are now okay with the audio. Moving on. City of Richmond, Mr. Hilbert. Mr. Jones. Ms. Larson. Ms. Robertson. Capital Region Airport Commission, Mr. Rutledge. GRTC Transit System, Ms. Tim.
I'm present.
Ms. Adams. Richmond Metropolitan Transportation Authority, Ms. Dean.
Here.
Secretary of Transportation Designee, Mr. Mann. Mr. Riblett.
Good morning, Nicole.
Good morning. CTAC, Mr. Basham. Mr. Martin. DRPT, Mr. Brule.
Here. Good morning, Nicole.
Good morning. Ms. Dubinsky.
Here.
Federal Highway Administration, Mr. Nelson.
This is Richard Duran standing in for Mr. Nelson.
Good morning, Mr. Duran. Federal Transit Administration, Mr. Koenig. Ride Finders, Ms. Tisdale.
Here.
Thank you. Ms. Ruffin. And Virginia Department of Aviation, Mr. Burnett. Thank you. That concludes the roll call, and I certify that we have a quorum, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much. Item A1, consideration of amendments to the action meeting agenda.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Dr. Newbell?
Yes, I will provide an updated list for the Richmond membership to Nicole. We were just all sworn in on Monday, and so we've had some changes to the membership for this body, and I'll provide that to you.
Thank you, Dr. Newbell.
Thank you.
Any other amendments to the meeting agenda? Hearing none. Our approval of December 3rd, 2020 TPO Policy Board Action Meeting Minutes. Are there any corrections, deletions, revisions to those minutes? If none, the chair will entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, this is Neil Spoonhauer. Nicole, I joined a little bit late, but I will move that we approve the meeting minutes as presented.
This is.
I will second that motion, Madam Chair.
Okay.
David Williams.
Thank you. It's been moved and second that we approve the meeting minutes for December 3rd, 2020. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposition has the same opportunity. Motion passed. A3 is our open public comment period. Have we received any emails? Anyone available?
Madam Chair, we have not received any emails.
All right. At this time, we will close our open public comment period. And item A4 is the chairman's report. And again, wishing everyone on a happy new year. To repeat that I am just so honored to serve as chair and honored to serve with you all, knowing the amount of dedication and commitment that you put forth to this organization and the endeavors to improve all modes of transportation throughout our region. So again, thank you so much. And look forward to an exciting year of leading, learning, and growing through our Richmond Transportation Planning Organization. At this time, we will have an update from our Secretary's report. Item A5, Mr. Parsons.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Nicole, are you able to zoom in any? Thank you. That works. A couple items on the agenda this morning for the Secretary's report. The current work efforts. let's scroll through those, please. The long-range plan is well underway. Our deadline for having that completed is September of 2021. So we are about halfway through. At this point, the staff is working closely with the Long-Range Plan Advisory Committee. Most of that committee is also comprised of your technical staff that serve on our technical advisory committee, as well as other stakeholders in the community. That advisory committee is leading the process right now, and they are the primary contacts. But we are, for your information, we are finalizing what we're calling the universal projects, and that are all of the candidate projects for inclusion in the long-range plan. We will, from this point forward, be developing a prioritization process to score, rank, and prioritize the projects that may be included in the long-range plan. And we'll be looking forward to providing you updates on that prioritization over the next few months. The regional bicycle and pedestrian plan is being updated concurrently with the long-range plan, and will fold into that overall plan. Barbara Jaycox is leading that process and is doing a tremendous job working with stakeholders around the region, as well as our active transportation committee, to develop that bike ped plan update. And I think our staff is doing really well on this, and is on time, on track to have that completed for inclusion in the long range plan itself. Many of our work groups are actively meeting. We held a meeting of our public transportation work group this week, and it was very productive. And I'll provide some more background on that when we get to the CBTI update. We are scheduled to have a meeting of the Vision Zero work group next week, next Thursday. And I'm excited to say that VDOT and their on-call consultant are going to be assisting us in putting together a regional action plan for Vision Zero. And this is the first of its kind for our region to address issues related to traffic safety and prevention of needless injuries and crashes. So we're excited about that and looking forward to working with VDOT on this process. The next item is our work program status report for November. We are on track, and honestly, we're in really good shape in terms of budget expenditures for completing all of the tasks that we have done. We are actually a little low on spending money, so I am working with other leadership and staff in the agency to assess for the remainder of this fiscal year, as well as leading into fiscal year 22, on what our staffing needs might be, and whether we're able in a good position to bring on some additional staff to expand the work that we can do and provide more support and services for you, our member organizations. So be on the lookout for that, for updates on that as we start to work on our fiscal 22 work program and budget. But again, we're in really good shape in terms of the work tasks that we've set out to do, and we're working very efficiently. Everyone's been working from home for almost a year now, and it's gone, although it impacts staff negatively in terms of being able to see each other and work close together. We are making great progress on achieving all of the tasks that we've set out to do for the year. So kudos to staff for their efficiency and ability to be flexible in this work environment. The next item, as you see on your screen, excuse me, is the 2021 meeting schedule for the Policy Board, the Executive Committee, the Community Transportation Advisory Committee, and the Technical Advisory Committee. These dates, as you know, are on a regular cycle and have not changed. For example, the Community Transportation Advisory Committee meets bi-monthly I believe on the fourth Thursday. I'm not exactly sure of the days as I talk about it now, but those schedules have not changed. But this is putting those exact dates in front of you for the coming year, starting with this month. And we'd be happy to take any questions on that, but it really should be no surprise to anyone. We do have a number of work groups and subcommittees that have been established over the past year that are meeting more on a as needed basis. Some of those are meeting monthly, but we don't have a regular schedule for those for the most part. So any questions about any of the other meetings, I'd be happy to take those. I did want to share, and Nicole, I'm going to share my screen. I did want to share a brief update on CVTA. There are a lot of things going on behind the scenes right now, and many of you are involved with some of these committees. I'll start with the Finance Committee. Finance Committee met 2 days ago, January 5th, and there were a number of things on the agenda to move forward, and so that they will stay at the top of the discussion. There are agreements, there are things in process right now regarding insurance for the authority, opening bank accounts, and development of fiscal agent agreements. Those are all in process and are scheduled to be set up in the next few weeks. There is we're working on a revenue transfer schedule. Essentially, when are the revenues that have been collected going to be brought in, and what's that process going to look like? So we're working with VDOT, the Department of Taxation, and others to identify the revenues that are expected to come in, how that is going to take place, and the best way to estimate what those monthly contributions are going to be. We are beginning discussion, as hard as it is to believe, on the operating administrative budget for year 2 of the CVTA. That'll start this summer, and it'll be the budgeting process will be pretty concurrent with development of the TPO budget. And related to that operating administrative budget is the assessment and consideration of staffing needs for the CVTA. At this point, Plan RVA is providing staffing services for the CVTA with a reimbursement process engaged. We are happy to continue doing that, but there is an assessment that has been set up by the CVTA for the end of this fiscal year to see how things are moving with the current arrangement, and there should be consideration of whether there are any staffing changes that are needed, or if additional staff or dedicated staff for the CVTA are required as we move into year 2. The technical committee is scheduled to meet next week, January 11th. And the 3 main topics that the technical committee will consider are: 1, there are reporting requirements for certification of fund expenditures. And as each, this applies across the board, depending on the revenue source. So there's a 50% local fund. Any projects that our members identify as using CVTA funds, there are requirements for certification of those projects to make sure that the funds are being used correctly to fund the transportation projects they were set aside to do. There is a requirement for any transit expenditures to also meet the qualifications of transit expenditures that are set forth in the code and in the bylaws. So we are working through a process with the technical committee starting this month on how to best document and track that the certification and the project development, both for historical purposes, to be able to identify what the CVTA has been able to accomplish in terms of developing transportation projects, but also for any auditing needs at the end of each fiscal year when the operations of the CVTA are considered. The second item listed on the technical committee is the Regional Public Transportation Plan. The Public Transportation Work Group, which was shown in your staff report, met this week to go through an initial workshop with GRTC's consultant that is developing this Regional Public Transportation Plan. This, along with the third item, are the two big things that are required under the CBTA legislation. And that's going to be, that plan is in great hands with GRTC and Michael Baker, and they are working on developing that plan over the next few months, and we look forward to participating in that process. The final thing the technical committee is considering is the transit governance requirement. This is a separate report that is required to be submitted to the Governor and General Assembly, assessing the structure and performance of governance regarding transit in the region. And the technical committee is considering two proposals that have been submitted by consultants to develop that report for the CBTA. So those two proposals will be on the agenda for discussion next week. And the plan is for the technical committee to provide a recommendation following that meeting for the full authority to consider on January 29th. Once that approval is finished, then the consultant will be able to start work immediately and begin work on developing that transit governance report. The full authority is scheduled to meet on January 29th. At that point, we will review the 2021 meeting schedule for the CBTA, as well as hopefully there will be some final action on support services. This is an MOU with Plan RVA. We have been providing the support services, as I mentioned earlier, but without an agreement in place. So we look forward to having that agreement finalized and ratified by the authority at the January 29th meeting. And finally, discussion of financial policies and procedures. We have a great work group that's been set up with finance directors from each of your jurisdictions, and they have been very, very helpful in navigating the work of setting up the authority on the financial side. And we are working with them closely to develop a policies and procedures manual for use by the CBTA as it moves forward. Madam Chair, that's the extent of my report. I'd be happy to take any questions. Mr. Gregory, I see you're here. If there's anything that you'd like to add regarding the CBTA, that would be appreciated as well.
Thank you, Mr. Parsons. I think you covered it very nicely.
Are there any questions or comments regarding our Secretary's report? Hearing none, we will move on, and thank you, Mr. Parsons, for the update. We will move on to item B1 under old business, our 2020 Richmond Region Structural Inventory and Assessment Report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members of the board, good morning and Happy New Year. Today, is everybody able to see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. So today I'll be presenting about the Richmond Regional Structural Assessment and Inventory and Assessment Report. This is something the RRTPO Policy Board hasn't heard for last 4 or 5 years. So let me make this full screen first. Okay, so RRTPO began tracking the regional structures since 2014. And we developed a report at that time, which we called as the BRIS report in 2015, based on the 2015 inventory of structures in the Richmond region. The current report, which we are calling as the 2020 Richmond Regional Structure Inventory Assessment Report, is basically the update of the 2015 report. This report was an independent report earlier, but now We plan to update this document every 4 to 5 years with the LRTP cycle. So now this would be a complementary document to the Connect RVA 2045 plan. Whereas the data which we get from the VDOT database of structures by construction district, which is basically the primary source of document for this data for this document, we plan to download that data every year, whereas create a report in every LRTP cycle. So this data is a snapshot of the data which VDOT publishes in their dashboard. I think the dashboard is updated every day. So this data is a snapshot of January 15, 2020. It's almost a year back. So any changes after that hasn't been captured. Structures with poor conditions, and I'll come up with what that means, will be fed into the Connect RVA 2045 plan as the bridge replacement and rehabilitation needs. So that's how it's connected with the long range transportation plan. For the time being, this is just an information only item. And I would ask the board to review the document and provide any comments. And finally, we'll ask the policy board to adopt the document with the Connect RVA 2045 plan as one of its complementary document around September end of this year. So the structures inventory consists of bridges, culverts, and tunnels. We don't have any tunnels in our region, but I was notified by one of our TAC members about a newly constructed tunnel in Hanover County in Atlee Road. So technically, I think that would be the first tunnel in the region. The structures listed in this inventory are structures which are maintained by VDOT, other jurisdiction, meaning Henrico County, as well as the city of Richmond, public agencies like RMTA, and then private entities like the railroad companies, as well as Global Via. The exceptions of federal bridges, we don't have any federal bridges in our region, but as we go towards east, I think in Hampton Roads, there are a lot of federal bridges. So the inventory consists of all the bridges regardless of their length, small bridges and big bridges. And it consists of all culverts having an opening greater than 36 square feet. So basically the dimension 6 by 6. Overpasses, flyovers, and grade separated ramps, all are considered bridges. And then finally, a bridge may have more than one structures if the structures are separated in a bridge, is not joined in any matter. For example, like the eastbound and westbound or northbound or southbound bridges, parts of the bridges could be two different structures. Examples being like what we have for Mayo Bridge, as well as the Route 288 bridge over James River. So this is the regional structure summary. We have two tables. One is by location and the other by ownership or maintenance. So we have 818 bridges in total, 610 culverts, a total of 1428 structures. If we look at by ownership, VDOT maintains almost 85% of all bridges. We have some bridges maintained by the city of Richmond, some bridges in the secondary roadway system in Henrico County. I think CXX maintains 2 bridges. And let me be clear that we are only talking about bridges in our highway systems. So any railroad crossing bridges or any pedestrian bridge, that's not considered in this inventory. So CXX, I think maintains 2 bridges. Earlier, Norfolk Southern also maintained 2 bridges, but now I think that has been transferred to VDOT. We have the RMTA, which has around 33 structures, and then Global Via, which is basically who maintains Route I-895. We have like 34 structures in that particular road segments. And then finally, I think Chesterfield County and Town of Ashland both maintain 1 culvert. So this is just the overall map as a point shown in the Richmond region for all the bridges and culvert in the region. Green triangle obviously is the bridge, yellow dot is the culverts. So we can see that the major bridges and culverts are along our arterials and major interstate routes, though we can see some of the other areas which also has bridges. This is the bridge and culvert, which is maintained by other entities, not VDOT. So we can see the red triangle, which is the Henrico bridges, the green pentagon, the RMTA bridges basically on Downtown Expressway and the Nickel Bridge. The Global Via along 895 and so forth. So structures condition, this is a little bit technical from here. So the Virginia Department of Transportation is responsible for the inventory and inspection of all bridges and culverts across Virginia, whether it's owned by or maintained by any other entity. So the federal guidance, which is provided through the National Bridge Inspection Standards. I think VDOT uses that to inspect the bridges. The inspection interval is no greater than 2 years for bridges and 4 years for large culvert, with more frequent intervals for post structure. In an average, the whole inventory is inspected every 3 years. So it just makes sense for us to evaluate the data every 3 to 4 years once the inspection of all the structures have been done. So basically the bridge has 3 components, the deck, which is basically the riding surface on the top of the bridge. And then it has the superstructure, which supports immediately beneath the driving surface. And then finally the substructure, which is the foundation and which supports and piers. So these are the 3 components of the bridge. For culverts, the whole culvert is considered as 1 component. So we have something called as the general conditions rating, in which it's a scale from 0 to 9. So if it's 0, it means that one of the components is failed. And if it's 9, it's excellent. So any bridge which has any of the components, the substructure, superstructure, and the deck, all of these elements are inspected separately and each has a general condition rating. So any of the 3 components of the bridge have the general condition rating of 4 or below, any component, then it's considered a poor or structurally deficient bridges. 5 and 6 are considered fair, and then anything above 7 is considered good. For culvert, it's just 1 component. So if the general condition rating is below 4, it's considered poor. So structurally deficient bridges are basically the bridges which have been restricted to light vehicles or close to traffic or require rehabilitation. Structurally deficient means that one of the 3 elements of the bridge needs to be monitored and repaired. It doesn't mean that it's unsafe or it's likely to collapse. Sometimes weights limit are posted into structurally deficient bridges. And as I mentioned earlier, the general condition rating 4 or less, those are the structurally deficient bridges. So we have 65 structurally deficient bridges or structures in the Richmond region. That's 4.6% of the sheer number of structures in the region. Compared to 2015, we had 110 structures which were structurally deficient. So there has been a great progress in rehabilitating these poor structures. So as we can see, 53 of those 65 structures are maintained by VDOT, 8 maintained by City of Richmond, and 3 maintained by Henrico County are structurally deficient. So all the structurally deficient bridges, 65 total bridges and culverts, were listed in Connect RVA 2045 needs and issue inventory. So that was the general needs, but LRTP normally addresses regional projects or bridges which have a higher magnitude of problem. So based on the federal guidance, only those bridges which are listed in the NBI, which is the National Bridge Inventory, and which are also in the NHS, which is the National Highway System, which includes interstate and multimodal system connectors, only those bridges are or structures would be included in the universe of projects. So at this time, we have 16 structures which would be included in the universe of projects for the Connect RVA 2045 plan. And this is the map of the structurally deficient bridges and culverts in the region. We can see that mostly the structurally deficient bridges are located in the fringes areas of the region, though we have some structures in the central part, central city and surrounding suburbs as well. Again, these are the weight posted bridges. We have 44 bridges in total, mostly again in the fringe areas of the region, but some in the central city as well. So Richmond has 7 weight posted bridges. Hanover County and Chesterfield have both 9. So we have a document, report, which was sent to you in the agenda packet, as well as a separate link. So it has an executive summary. It contains the reason bridge inventory statistics, includes all these different bridges as I showed in the presentation. It also documents the Commonwealth State of Good Repair prioritization process, methodology for replacement and rehabilitations of the structures. So this is an annual program in which VDOT as well as the localities participate, and there is a scoring system which is very highly technical, based on 5 factors, and the bridges are scored, and based on the amount of state of good repair funds, those bridges are qualified every year for rehabilitation or replacement. So that's documented in our document. And then finally, we have a jurisdictional profile in which we have listed all the bridges in a particular locality, also highlighted the ones which are in poor conditions, which are weight posted or are structurally deficient, and location map of all these structures. So this is the link, and I think the link is also provided in the agenda packet as well as our website. So that's all I have. Please review it. It's a dry document, but has very important information. So if you have any comments or concerns, just let us know. And if you want to discuss in detail, we can discuss about this offline as well. This will come back again to you around September, October timeframe, when we ask you to formally adopt the long range transportation plan, Connect RVA 2045. And that's all I have. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions regarding our presentation that we just heard?
Madam Chair, this is Commissioner Holland. Good morning to all. Thanks. First of all, thank you so very much for presenting the information, the plan. And as I recall here, and he says that the last time it was presented was 5 years ago. I guess I want to confirm that. And also, in addition, do we have a prioritization, as I recall, looking at as well as screen, regarding which bridges are closest to failure and which one will we improve or rehabilitate first, or in terms of a listing of projects? Should we have federal dollars from planned by maybe the new administration, new Congress? We've heard for the last 6 years or so that we're going to do an infrastructure plan that never got off the ground maybe 4 or 5 years ago. But it's our hope that that may be forthcoming. So my questions are, again, one, do we have a prioritization of bridges or areas that might fail? And you may, is one question. And second question, do we have a prioritization and the approximate cost of rehabilitation of that list is the second question. And the reason why I posed those is because a number of years ago in Minnesota, there was a complete failure of a bridge. You may recall hearing about. So those are my two questions. Thank you.
Thank you. So the prioritization process for the bridge is done at the state's level, because the process is pretty much technical, and it requires, we don't have as a TPO, we don't have that staffing capacity. So we coordinate with VDOT. They have, as I mentioned, the state of good repair funding and prioritization process, which is done every year. So VDOT district staff identifies all the bridges which are structurally deficient and which are maintained by VDOT, and they have a list of that. Similarly, the bridges which are maintained by the localities, the locality staff list those and provide those to the VDOT staff. And I think both these are ranked based on 5 different factors, which are pretty technical in central office, and based on the ranking of the projects of those bridges, I think, and the amount of state of good repair funding available, those bridges are funded for rehabilitation and replacement based on what the technical staff think that bridge should have, and those bridges are funded every year.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Madam Chair, this is Neil Spoonhauer.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Royal, thank you so much again for your presentation. My question is around the categorization of the weight restrictions. We're running into issues where emergency vehicles aren't able to traverse bridges. So is there some distinction that identifies bridges that our emergency vehicles can't traverse? And if so, are they given priority? Yeah.
Frankly speaking, I don't have any knowledge of that question, but I can ask the experts in VDOT and get back to you. Thank you.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Are there any other questions or comments? I thank you so much for this excellent presentation, and we look forward to updates. And if not, we will see you back in September, October, with your with an action to be taken. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Moving on our agenda to new business. Under C1 is our FY21 through FY24 TIP amendments from VDOT request. Mr. Parsons.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. On your screen is the agenda item for C1. The requested action is to review and recommend to the the requested action is that the TPO policy board approve amending the FY 21-24 Transportation Improvement Program to add 11 new projects. Those projects are shown. Can we scroll down a little bit? There we go. All of these projects are listed with no obligations, and they are regional programs that are managed through VDOT, such as changeable message signs, ramp metering, advanced work zone technology programs, regional multimodal mobility program. The TAC has reviewed these recommendations and recommends approval of this VDOT request to amend the TIP to add these 11 new projects. If we could scroll down a little bit to the staff recommendation, the resolution itself is that the Richmond Regional Transportation Planning Organization Policy Board amends the FY 21-24 Transportation Improvement Program, adding the following 11 new projects, and be it further resolved that these projects are considered exempt from conformity under provisions contained in section 93.126 of the conformity rule. And those exemptions are shown following the recommended resolution. And those include things like safety. There's an other category. Most of those are safety related exemptions. Mass transit would be related to the multimodal mobility program. I believe that VDOT is on the call as well. If there are any questions about individual UPCs, otherwise the TAC has made their recommendation and staff concurs with that to amend the TIP.
Thank you. We have had the opportunity, hopefully, to review the amendments. VDOT, I believe, is on the phone. Are there any questions of any of the UPCs? If not, the chair will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve, Madam Chair. David Williams, Powhatan.
Supervisor Holland, Chesterfield, second.
Thank you. The motion has been moved and properly second. All in favor, we ask that you say aye.
Aye. Aye.
If there's any opposition, you have the same opportunity. Motion passed. Thank you. Under new business, under our agency and committee reports, our transportation agency updates, and we have Mr. Mann with VDOT, I believe.
Good morning. This is Mark Briblett. I'm here this morning for Shane, who was unable to make it this morning. I think he's enjoying some jury duty time. So real quick, our agency report for VDOT. The CTB meeting in December had several noteworthy items that were presented to them. Smart scale update on the round 4 progress was certainly a significant topic of conversation. We'll talk more about that in just a second. The CVTA MOA was presented to the CTB in December. Additional presentations regarding urban maintenance street payments, as well as the updates to the 6-year plan for revenue sharing, as well as DrTP and VDOT updates on the 6-year plan were also discussed at the December meeting. The January meeting has not been identified on the CTB website as of this morning. The normal schedule would be 2 days, the 19th and the 20th. If you look at the normal schedule when they were meeting in person, we are anticipating that it will be a 1-day virtual meeting on the 19th, and the update should be provided on the CTB's website here shortly. So anticipate that the January meeting right now will actually be a 1-day meeting on January 19th. Regarding the process of Smart Scale Round 4, the majority of validation is complete. There are a few outstanding items statewide. Scoring is underway, and OIPI is anticipated to present information to the CTB at their January meeting. Certainly scores are anticipated, and the impacts of those scores are likely going to be discussed at their January meeting. Regarding 6-year plan development, the official revenue estimates and projections for FY 22 to 27 are still under development. And we are anticipating that the spring update of the 6-year plan this year would be a full and quote unquote normal 6-year plan update, really anticipated to and intended to address all project needs. The update to the 6-year plan last year was certainly impacted by COVID and wasn't the typical full update. Our interstate studies are still underway. We will certainly provide information regarding any upcoming public involvement meetings. We'll certainly share that when those are available. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
She taping?
Not yet.
11.
Are there any questions of Mr. Riblett?
Hey, I'm taping at 11 too.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much for the update. Now, DrTP.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Just a few updates from DRPT for this month. As Mr. Riblett indicated, our 1-year, 6-year improvement program was approved by the Commonwealth Transportation Board on December 9th. All of that information is on our webpage. This document that was adopted does reflect a single year of allocations and does not include that 5-year capital or operating plan look ahead as our typical programs do. We are anticipating a full update of our 6-year program for fiscal 22. On that note, for fiscal 22, we did open our application cycle on December 1st. That remains open through February 1st, and we're looking forward to receiving those applications from funding from the transit agencies and commuter assistance agencies. Big news on the transit and rail front. There was another federal COVID relief bill that was signed around the holidays. That bill does provide $14 billion in relief to transit agencies using a modified formula allocation. At this point, FTA has 30 days to apportion those funds based on that modified formula. So we are anticipating receiving information by the end of January on how those funds will be apportioned. Unlike the CARES Act, which followed the standard formula apportionment, there are some caps on this new federal relief that caps the urban transit agencies at 75% of their operational expenses from 2018. That's what is recorded right now in the National Transit Database. So we are trying to work through and make some estimates on what we think those allocations are going to look like coming out of this additional COVID relief bill. There is also funding in the COVID relief bill for Amtrak for the Northeast Corridor and Amtrak National Service that is intended to offset revenue losses and increase subsidy payments, and to avoid increased subsidy payments for the state-supported routes, which is obviously significant for us with our large state-supported Amtrak program here in the Commonwealth. Last thing I'll update you on is the Virginia Passenger Rail Authority. We are continuing to work to stand up the Passenger Rail Authority. Their next meeting is scheduled for January 25th at 10 a.m. That will be a virtual meeting, and information on how to participate in that meeting is on our webpage. With that, I will be happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions or comments? As always, we appreciate your update and thank you so much. And moving on to E, other business on our agenda, E1, our future topics in closing our package on page 40. And some of our future topics, February the 4th, the TPO Policy Board and Executive Committee membership changes. That's our expectation, and then our federal performance measures, and then Connect RVA 2045 with the vision goals and objectives. In March, we look forward to our Richmond Region Bicycle and Pedestrian Plan updates. And in April, the Complete Streets Guidance and Toolbox update. And then on May the 6th, we have our FY Unified Planning work program and our Connect RVA 2045 update with the constraint plan development. Are there any other And then we have other future topics, possibilities, which is better utilizing investments to leverage development. And that is a grant program. And I'm sure we all be interested in that, and public engagement and community outreach efforts. This list is not a comprehensive list, and we are very flexible. And so therefore, this morning, are there any topics that any of you would like to see us entertain that are not listed above or in the future, 6 months?
Madam Chair, one logistical item, and the future meeting topic sparked it. I think that as we're all aware, we are meeting virtually, and I think the intention is that staff and the executive committee will probably be tracking this, our ability to continue like this or transition back to in-person meetings throughout the spring. And if the opportunity presents itself and the safety is there, then that may be a decision to make at some point. At this time, I would assume that our intention is to continue at least for the next few months in this manner.
Absolutely. And so, and thank you for that. If you do have topics that you're interested in, please just submit them to Chad, and we will surely add them. So next we have our member comments. So at this opportunity, I'll open the floor up. If any of our members have comments that you would like to share. Perfect. Okay. And then one thing I would like to say is that truly through all of this pandemic, and we said it last year, and we'll start off this year by saying it, and that is appreciation of our staff for all that you have done to work through and all the efforts that you put forth. Surely that was reflected in our budget numbers that we received. And so we want you to know that all that you're doing in your commitment to this organization is very appreciated. So thank you, Chad, and to you and your staff. Thank you so much. Our next business meeting will be on February the 4th, 2020. As of now, we plan for it to be a virtual meeting. So as we have been doing for the last few months, you will be getting your material, and we plan to see all of you then. If all hearts and minds are clear, then we stand to adjourn. And thank you so much for your attendance.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You as well.
Supervisor Holland.
Thanks, everyone. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to all.